romper room where we ball a break. Big wins, big losses, all at stake. Party vibe, poker life, always crunk. Feel rich, feel broke, that's just the funk, yeah. Seen boys rise, seen boys fall. Bluffing stacks, risking it all. Got the queens, thought I locked the pot. Straight flush flip, now I'm feeling shot. It's the hustle, it's the grind, no time to assume. All in a full life in the romper room.
What up, you degenerate gamblers? Back for more punishment in the romper room, huh? You guys flooded the inbox this week with one request. How the hell do you play ace-king?
Yeah, everyone's favorite hand to screw up.
No kidding. Looks so damn pretty before the flop, then bam, you're crying into your beer.
It's a heartbreaker, that's for sure. But hey, that's why we're here. Let's break down the strategy, especially for when the stacks are deep.
Deep stacks. We talking high roller stuff here, so no more of this shifang every time you see an ace and a king.
Whoa, hold your horses. That's the first mistake most players make. They see ace-king and think it's an automatic shove.
But it can win flips against those lower pairs, right?
Sure, it can, but you got to think about who you're up against. What if they've got aces or kings? Suddenly your pretty little ace-king is looking like a busted flush draw.
Damn, so we're not just jamming every time. What's the play then? Fold and pray for better cards.
Nah, there's a better way. Sometimes the smartest move is to just call. Flat calling, as the cool kids call it.
Wait, you're telling me to just call when I have ace-king? It feels so passive.
Passive-aggressive, maybe. You're letting them think they're ahead, keeping those weaker hands in the pot. You know, the ones you actually have a good chance of beating.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. So we're being sneaky, luring them into a trap.
Yeah.
But when do we get to unleash the Kraken? When is it actually time to shove with AK?
That's where things get a little more complicated. How many chips you've got, your stack size, right? And whether your ace-king is suited or offsuit, that all comes into play.
Okay, stack size makes sense. The fewer chips you got, the more likely you are to go all in. But what's the difference between suited and offsuit? They're both ace-king.
But that little suit, my friend, makes all the difference in the world. Ace-king suited, that's when your ace and king are the same suit. Like ace of hearts, king of hearts loves to play it cool with its shallower stacks.
We're talking limping in. Maybe a min raise to sweeten the pot.
You got it. Ace-king suited plays beautifully after the flop, especially with those flush draws. No need to rush things.
Right, let those flush draws work their magic. So what about ace-king offsuit? When does that hand want to get wild?
Offsuit, it's got a bit of a gambling problem. You might start shoving earlier, maybe around 14 big blinds, because frankly, it doesn't have the same staying power as its suited brother.
So offsuit's like that drunk buddy who's always trying to start a fight.
Perfect analogy. Suited's the calculated assassin, offsuit's the barroom brawler.
Love it. Okay, so I'm picturing myself shoving pre-flop with ace-king offsuit, feeling like a total badass. But then the flop comes down, and it's like the poker gods are laughing in my face. What the hell do I do then?
That's the post-flop dilemma with ace-king. Even if you hit top pair, top kicker, you can't just assume you're in the clear. You got to stay sharp, and you got to adjust based on what that flop looks like and who you're up against.
So you're saying even with the best possible hand, we can't get cocky?
Hell no. That flop can change everything. Turn a seemingly strong hand into a total disaster faster than you can say rebuy.
Okay, I need visuals. Hit me with a good flop and a bad flop for ace-king.
All right, picture this. The flop comes down 10-10-5, all different suits, what we call a rainbow flop. That's usually a pretty good sign for your ace-king.
So we're firing out a bet there, right? Trying to get some value from those weaker hands.
You got it. Now imagine this. The flop comes down 9-8-7 with 2 diamonds. Scary, right?
Because everyone and their grandma could have a straight or a flush draw.
Bingo. Suddenly your top pair, top kicker, doesn't look so hot.
So we just check and pray.
Sometimes. You're controlling the pot, letting your opponent hang themselves. But here's the thing about ace-king.
Lay it on me.
Generally speaking, you want to be the aggressor, putting pressure on your opponent, making them sweat.
I like it. Make them fold or pay the price. But there are times when checking is the right play, right? Like if you're trying to trap someone.
Exactly. It's all about reading the situation, knowing when to pounce and when to lay back.
All right, my brain is starting to hurt. So much to think about.
Poker's a thinking man's game. Well, sometimes. But let's talk about those times when you hit a monster hand with ace-king. The nuts, top set, the kind of hand that makes you want to shop, boom, roasted. What's the play then?
Stack those chips to the ceiling, baby.
Hell yeah. Bet big, bet bold, and extract every last chip from your opponent. Don't be that guy who leaves money on the table. I've got a story about a guy, let's just call him Scared money.
Scared money.
Yeah.
Love it. Go on.
So scared money raises pre-flop with ace-king offsuit, another player calls him. The flop comes king high, 2 low cards. Scared money bets, the other guy calls. The turn card's a blank. Scared money bets again, other guy calls again. River card pairs the board, giving scared money 2 pair. Aces and kings.
Second nuts. Only a set of kings beats him there, right? So he's shoved.
Nope. Scared money checks.
What the hell?
No clue what was going through his head. Maybe brain fart. The other guy bets. And scared money folds.
No way. He folded the second nuts.
Swear to God. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Damn, that's gotta hurt. But hey, it's a lesson for all of us. Don't be scared money.
Amen to that. Know your hand, know your opponent, and for God's sake, don't fold the second nuts.
Words to live by. All right, we've covered a lot here. Pre-flop, post-flop, the dangers of being a scaredy cat.
We're just getting warmed up. Next time, we'll dive even deeper into that wild world of tournaments versus cash games and how you need to switch up your ace-king strategy.
Ooh, can't wait for that.
Yeah.
See you guys back here in the romper room for more ace-king insanity.
You know, it's funny. These sources really lay it out how differently ace-king needs to be played in tournaments compared to cash games.
Right. Talk about a recipe for disaster. Some hotshot comes in thinking they can just run over a tournament with ace-king like it's a cash game.
Oh, yeah. They'll be crying in their beer before the first break. Tournaments, man, they're a whole different animal.
A different animal, huh? So how do we tame this beast?
It's about patience. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't just go guns blazing with ace-king every time, especially early on when everyone's deep stacked.
Wait, deep stacked? I would have thought having a ton of chips would give you more freedom to gamble.
You'd think so, right? But it's actually the opposite. Early in a tournament, everyone's deep, they're playing tight, waiting for those premium hands.
So if you're shoving with ace-king offsuit in that situation, you're basically asking to get knocked out.
Pretty much, you're praying to run into a pair of queens or jacks, when most likely you're going to run into aces, kings, maybe even ace-queen, and then sayonara, baby.
Damn. So we fold pre-flop. Seriously, folding ace-king just feels so wrong, like betraying a good friend.
I know, it feels dirty. But sometimes folding is the best play you can make. It's about picking your spots, knowing when to fight, and when to live to fight another day.
This is some next-level poker shit right here. All right, so we've talked about the dangers of ace-king offsuit in tournaments. What about ace-king suited? How does that hand play in the tourney jungle?
Ace-king suited. Ah, now that's a different story. This hand loves those tournament streets.
All about that flush potential, baby.
That's part of it, yeah. But it's also about something called implied odds.
Implied odds. Sounds fancy.
It's a fancy way of saying, what's the potential payout if I hit my hand? And ace-king suited, with its potential for straights and flushes, has some of the highest implied odds in the game.
So, like, if you flop a flush draw with ace-king suited, you could potentially win your opponent's entire stack?
Exactly. And that's why it's such a beast in tournaments. People are more likely to go broke with big hands. So even if you have to call a raise or two pre-flop, it can be worth it to see a flop with ace-king suited because that potential payoff is massive.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. It's not just about the current pot. It's about those future possibilities.
You got it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about those post-flop situations, you know, when the flop comes down and it's like a minefield of draws.
Yeah, those are the ones that give me nightmares. Hitting top pair, top kicker with your ace-king.
Yeah.
But the board is screaming straights and flushes.
Oh.
What do you do?
That's where the real skill comes in. It's about understanding your opponent, reading those scary boards, and I know you're going to hate this word, patience.
Ugh, patience. That's like telling a kid to wait for Christmas morning to open their presents.
I know. It's tough. But in those tricky post-flop spots, patience can be the difference between winning a monster pot and donating your chips to the guy across the table.
Okay, fine. Patience. But how do I know when to pump the brakes, even when I'm sitting there with top pair, top kicker?
Start with the board. How many draws are out there? Could your opponent have a straight draw, a flush draw, 2 pair?
Okay, so if there's a bunch of draws...
Slow down, my friend, especially if your opponent is betting and raising like a maniac.
Because they could be trying to scare me off.
Exactly. They could be bluffing, or they could be semi-bluffing, which means they have a draw and they're hoping you fold so they can see the next card for free.
Poker's a freaking mind game, man. So do I just fold, tuck my tail between my legs, and run?
Not necessarily. You could call and see what happens on the turn. You could even raise, try to put the pressure back on them, make them sweat. It's about reading the situation, you know, making the best play with the information you've got.
So it's like detective work. but with cards and chips instead of clues and fingerprints.
That's a great way to put it. You're a poker Sherlock Holmes. Now, there's one more concept we got to talk about. It's especially relevant to Ace King. Equity realization.
Equity realization. Is this a poker podcast or a business seminar?
Don't worry, it's not that complicated. Basically, it's about making the most of those situations where you have the best hand and minimizing your losses when you don't.
Sounds easy enough.
Yeah.
But how do I actually do that?
Well, it all starts with something called range advantage.
Range advantage. My head's going to explode. Too many fancy poker terms.
Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Range advantage just means having a stronger range of potential hands than your opponent. And when you have that advantage, you can be more aggressive, bet bigger, and win more pots.
Okay, so how does that apply to Ace King?
Think about it. When you raise pre-flop with Ace King, what kind of hands are you representing?
The good stuff, right? Aces, kings, ace, queen. The premium hands.
Exactly. Now, let's say your opponent calls your raise with, I don't know, a pair of tens, maybe ace-jack. Their range of possible hands is much weaker than yours. That's range advantage.
So I can basically bully them around because they probably have a weaker hand.
You got it. You don't want to go too crazy, but you can be more confident with your bets and raises, knowing that you're likely ahead.
All right, I'm liking this range advantage thing. Feels good to be the bully for once.
It's all part of the game, my friend. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second and talk about a specific situation where this all comes into play.
Hit me with it.
All right. Let's say you're playing cash game. You raise pre-flop with ace-king offsuit. Some tight player, the type who only plays premium hands, calls from the big blind. Flop comes down. 10, 9, deuce, rainbow. What's your play?
I've got top pair, top kicker. So I'm betting.
Right. But how much are you betting and why?
I'd probably bet, I don't know, maybe half the pot, 3/4, trying to get value from any weaker aces or kings they might have.
Not a bad play, but you could be missing out on a big payday. In this situation, you've got a massive range advantage. This tight player probably only called your pre-flop raise with a very small range of hands. Big pairs, maybe ace-queen. When you flop, top pair, top kicker, you're almost certainly ahead.
So I should be betting bigger, like really putting the screws to them.
You got it. You could even consider overbetting the pot. Why? Because even if they have a hand like ace-queen, they're going to have a hard time calling a big bet on that flop.
Wow, okay. So you're telling me I could potentially win a huge pot with ace-king offsuit, even if it doesn't feel like a super strong hand?
Exactly. It all comes down to understanding equity realization and range advantage. Master those concepts, and Ace King becomes a money printing machine.
My mind is officially blown. This is some next-level poker voodoo right here.
Hey, that's what we're here for, to teach you guys how to play like the pros.
Before we wrap up part 2, I gotta ask, what's the weirdest situation you've ever seen someone play ace-king? Like something so baffling it made you question if they even knew the rules of the game.
Oh man, I've seen some crazy shit in my time. But this one hand, it still keeps me up at night. I was playing in a mid-stakes cash game, and this guy, let's call him Check Raise Charlie.
Check raise Charlie, love it.
So Charlie raises pre-flop with ace-king offsuit. Couple of players call, I call, flop comes down, ace high, 2 rags. Charlie bets out, looking good so far. Everyone folds except one other guy, he calls. Turn card's a blank, Charlie bets again, other guy calls again. River pairs the board, giving Charlie 2 aces and whatever the board paired with.
Second nuts. Only a set of kings can beat him there.
You think so, right? But what does Charlie do? He checks.
He checks. Why the hell would he check there?
Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe he was trying to be cute, hoping the other guy would bluff.
So what happened?
The other guy, smelling weakness, bets out. And check raise Charlie. Folds.
No. He folded the second nuts.
Folded it like it was contagious. I almost spit out my beer.
That is incredible.
Yeah, check raise Charlie definitely missed out on a big payday that night.
All right, folks, the lesson here is clear. Don't be a check raise Charlie. Know your hand, know when to bet, and don't fold the damn second nuts.
Words of wisdom.
Back for more ace-king action in the romper room, baby. You guys ready to level up your poker game?
We're about to turn you into ace-king assassins.
Hell yeah. Last week you teased some high-level shit, 3-betting, 4-betting, avoiding tilt. Where do we even start?
Let's dive right into the deep end with 3-betting, especially before the flop.
Okay, 3-betting. Someone raises, I raise again. Feels kind of ballsy, even with a hand like ace-king.
It's a power move, no doubt. You're showing strength, building that pot, putting your opponent on the defensive right away.
I'm liking the sound of this already. But seriously, when is it the right play to 3-bet with ace-king?
Well, it's not always the perfect move. Got to consider a few things. First off, position. The later your position, meaning the closer you are to the button, the more you can get away with 3-betting.
Hold on, back up. Why does position matter so much when it comes to 3-betting?
Information, my friend. Information is power. In late position, you get to see what everyone else is doing before you have to act. If everyone's folding, you can 3-bet with a wider range of hands, including ace-king, try to steal those blinds.
Makes sense. So position is key. What else?
Of course, whether your ace-king is suited or offsuit, that matters too. Remember, ace-king suited just plays way better in 3-bet pots.
Because of those sweet implied odds with the flush draws, right?
Exactly. So with ace-king suited, you're usually going to be 3-betting more often, especially against those aggressive players who are raising every other hand.
So we're punishing the maniacs for playing too loose.
You got it. When someone's raising a wide range of hands, they're more likely to have something weak that we can dominate. 3-betting puts them in a tough spot.
I like putting people in tough spots.
Yeah.
That's what poker's all about. But what happens if they don't fold? What if they 4-bet us?
Ooh, now things are getting spacey. 4-betting with ace-king, that's a move for the fearless. You need some serious balls and a good read on your opponent.
Okay, I'm sweating a little bit here. Talk me through this.
Think of a 4-bet as the nuclear option. You're basically saying, I'm all in. Do you have the balls to call?
So we're only doing this if we have the absolute nuts, right?
Not necessarily. Remember, poker is a game of deception. You can 4-bet as a bluff, especially if you think your opponent is 3-betting with a lot of weak hands.
Hold on, I'm officially lost. I can 4-bet as a bluff with ace-king.
It's a high-risk, high-reward play. Got to be really confident they're going to fold.
Okay, let's say I'm reading my opponent, I'm feeling the vibes, and I decide to fire that 4-bet. Then what? What if they call my bluff?
Pray for a miracle on the flop, my friend, because if they call your 4-bet with a monster hand like aces or kings, you're in trouble.
Damn, this is intense. Maybe I should just stick to folding every hand.
Don't get scared. Remember, poker is all about managing risk and taking advantage of opportunities. With ace-king, you have the potential to win those big pots if you know how to play it right.
You're right. You're right. Okay, I'm back in the game. I'm ready to unleash my inner 4-betting beast. But before we wrap up this ace-king masterclass, we got to talk about that feeling we all know and hate. Tilt.
Tilt, every poker player's worst nightmare. It can turn even the best players into a train wreck.
Ace-king. It's the ultimate tilt-inducing hand, you know? Flop top pair, top kicker, feeling like a champion, and then bam! Some donkey sucks out on the river with a miracle card. Makes you want to punch a hole in the wall.
Been there, done that. But here's the thing, tilt is a choice. You can choose to let it control you, or you can choose to rise above it.
Easier said than done, man. When you're staring at a blank screen after losing a huge pot, it's hard to keep your cool.
It takes practice, but it's crucial. Because when you're tilted, you're not playing your best. You're making those emotional decisions, not logical ones. And that's when the real damage happens.
So how do we avoid the tilt monster when those ace-king disasters inevitably strike? What's the secret?
The most important thing to remember, variance is part of poker. You're going to have win streaks, you're going to have lose streaks, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. It's all part of the game.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually stay zen when you just lost half your stack to a guy who had no business winning that hand?
Focus on what you can control. Your strategy, your decisions, how you manage your bankroll. Those are the things that will make you a winner in the long run.
So deep breaths, focus on the process, and don't let the bad beats get to me.
Exactly. Every hand is a new opportunity to make the right play.
Damn, that's some profound poker shit right there. I'm feeling more zen already.
See? It's all about perspective.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. Pre-flop, post-flop, 3-betting, 4-betting, tilt. I'm ready to go out there and dominate some poker tables.
Go get 'em. Just remember, practice makes perfect.
Any final words of wisdom before we unleash these ace-king warriors on the world?
Respect the hand. It's powerful, it's versatile, but it ain't invincible. Play it smart, play it with confidence, and most importantly, have fun.
Well said. That's it for our epic 3-part ace-king extravaganza, folks. Go forth and crush those tables.
Good luck, players.
See you next time in the Romper Room.